let's get this started. So, firstly, how to not burn leads. I see a lot of people in their messaging and in their scripts. It's very much so to go in right for the kill. Right? Now, let's look at it this way. Let's do some math here. And if you do 20 messages a day and you go right in for the kill, like, hey, this is what I do. Like, do you need help with this? 20 messages a day, you're probably only going to get one, maybe two people who actually might need help with that. And then you've burnt 18 other leads. So out of the 20 you reach out each day, you've burnt 18 of those, and then those two are only possibles. So you're going to have to consistently plug your pipeline at the top end every single day, which is really, really difficult because you're going to have to add so many more people, message so many people, because every single day you're burning off, 80 to 90% of the leads that you messaged in the previous day. And that's a real bad way to do things. And possibly those people might get angry. They might not, it's a whole dilemma with that. Instead, Nick, who's actually on the call, and I love using this example, is Nick and I only started working together back in November. You can check out his interview in the group as well back in November. But Nick and I were talking for years. And I never, there was never a circumstances where Nick was like, oh, F off, Jason, I'm not going to reply to him. Or maybe he was, I don't know. But it was always consistently having conversations rather than me going, hey, Nick, this is what I do. Like, do you need help with this? That is a very difficult way of doing things. And Nick would have been burnt and probably been like, nah, I don't want to reply to that guy. So to not burn leads, think about what you're initially saying to people. So initially, what you want to be doing is starting the conversation and starting to build your relationship instead of just trying to go in straight for the sale. Now, I want to ask a question here. Like, does that all make sense for you? So instead of, and please answer that, if you go in and just going in right for the kill, that's not really going to work. You're going to burn so many leads. Or go in and just start the conversation and start the relationship. Because then with you starting the relationship is, let's say out of those 20 people that you message, 10 reply, for example, which is reasonable. That's quite a good rate. 10 reply. So then you start, let's say you start on a Monday with 20, then you start on a Tuesday with 10 leads, you add in 20 more and 10 of those reply, you've got 20 leads on the Tuesday. Rather than on the Monday, you message 20 people, only 2 people are actually interested. The next day, those 2 people are still interested. And then you're just adding 2. And you can see out over a compound effect over a long period of time that you're stacking 10 leads every single day. So by the end of the month, you're up to 300 something leads. You can have a crazy good amount of leads in your pipeline that aren't burnt because you didn't just go in straight for the kill. You went in to build the relationship, making your business much more effective because you have so many more leads and you are not always burning through and churning. Hopefully that makes sense. So now, what does the follow-up or process look like, right? What does that look like? How do you ensure that these 10 leads that you're plugging along the way, how do you ensure you consistently follow up with them? And I'm just going to respond to a comment as well. Even if you get 1 or 2 who may need what you offer, you can really put them off or drive them away with such a forceful approach. It really is a difficult way of doing things. Like Nick said, there's something that everyone needs to understand, and it's called sales resistance. And that is essentially what it sounds like. It's people are resistant to being sold because they've been sold so many times. And by going in straight for the kill in that, that pitch message, is that you're putting up all of these sales resistant walls that are going to be very difficult for you to break down. This person, you started your relationship with it's like going to a bar and you're going to someone and you speak to them and you say, My intention here is to make us get married. Like, that's resistance, right? There's a whole lot of resistance there. Unless the person's in love with you, then that's fantastic. But like, there's a whole lot of resistance, right? And if you're constantly doing that to every single girl at the bar, I mean, no one's going to want to speak to you at the bar, and you'll probably get kicked out. That's essentially what people are doing with pitching in the first message. So I hope that makes sense. Now, let's chat about consistent follow-up. Now, follow-up, as always say, like, fortune is in the follow-up, and I would 1000% agree with that. But follow-up is done so wrong by so many people. Is everyone comes in, like, if the first thing that I just talked about was about you, like you always trying to sell, the second thing is even more so about you and you trying to sell. And that is people following up with just the intention of just getting the sale. That's all they want to do, is asking questions like, hey, have you reviewed, our proposal? Hey, like, what are you doing? Like, are you ready to roll? Hey, are you ready to invest? Like, that follow-up is really a horrible way of doing things. And we've only just recently tweaked this, even more so. One big thing for follow-up is you need to really follow up for a reason. So if you've gotten on a sales call with this person, your follow-up needs to be relevant to that sales call. So what do I mean by that? If the person said that they're struggling to get clients through Facebook ads, instead of following up and saying, hey, have you looked over our proposal about Facebook ads? You follow up and say, how has the Facebook ads been performing recently? And get them to open up with that. If they haven't closed, or if they've just told you that but haven't gotten on a call, is following up with a specific reason that makes them want to open up and makes them even more so realize that they have a problem. Then life is going to be a lot easier for you, because then the conversation can transition into either jumping on another sales call or jumping on your first sales call. And you need to be doing that consistently. And another thing that you need, yeah, exactly as Nick said, like, just checking in equals please buy from me. It's so true. And these are the lessons like that, Nick, obviously a client of ours as well, and he's giving this sort of information. It's exactly right. That's please buy from me. You don't want to be going through that path. You want to be following up with a specific reason. And now I've also followed up with completely different things just to start the conversation again and get them moving forward. We had someone who ghosted. And then we reached out and said, hey, so-and-so, like, we actually just shot this free training about generating leads on Facebook. I think it's relevant to your situation because that's what you've told us you've been struggling with. Would you like us to send it over for you? Free of charge, no problem at all. And then they're like, yeah, cool. Back into the sales conversation. So I'm following up with free value and following up with a reason and with intent. And now they are more open to having that conversation with me and understanding their pain and realizing their pain, which will ultimately move through to a sale. Now, hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on that? Any questions on specifics, please drop in the comments, and I'll, as this thing is like, I'm on Zoom here and then in the background, I'm watching on Facebook. It's a little delayed. So please drop some comments or questions and I'll be able to answer them as well. Next point I wanted to answer is nurturing your leads. So nurturing and follow-up are two slightly different things. So follow-up is making sure that someone jumps on the sales call or after a sales call, moving them through the process. But how to nurture your leads is nurturing them so they are more indoctrinated into wanting to work with you. Now, indoctrination really means, and it's a weird word. It's actually, now I'm saying it, listening, I'm like, what the hell is this word? But indoctrination is essentially them getting put into your world and pushed into like what you do and knowing what you do. So a big thing that works for indoctrination is content, right? Like this. This is great content that people can watch and understand exactly what I do and how I can help people. That indoctrinates someone. So that's nurturing versus follow-up. And now what I would do to make sure that, these leads who I want to nurture and want to get more warmed up to me is I might tag them in the comments here, or tag them in a post that's relevant to them, or even like send them a free bit of content, send them something that is valuable. That's nurturing them. So eventually they can get on a call and then you can follow up with them. And the nurturing side of things is really, really powerful because the more that they see your content without you actually saying something, the better. So now you can see how this kind of ties in, right? Is if you have those 20 leads we talked about at the start and 10 of them move to Tuesday, which I like, is then those 10 we can nurture and consistently follow up with if they don't jump on a call. And then the 10 move on to the next day, 10. And then we're constantly stacking and stacking and stacking more and more leads rather than at the front burning so many leads. Because if you're burning through 18 leads a day, you can't nurture or follow up with them. And it's never going to work. So any questions on nurturing, any questions on follow-up, please drop them in the comments as well. Abbas said, I was using it, how it sucks. Yeah, just checking in. Awful way of doing things. Look, I've been a victim of that as well. I've done it for sure. But it just doesn't work because it is all about you. It's not about the prospect. And too often people say that in sales, but don't know what to actually, like how to articulate that. Is you want to be following up with the intent to help and serve them, not just checking in, please buy from me. So use what I've just talked about before, and that will be much better because people will be more receptive and open to having conversations with you. All right, moving on to how we constantly sell people who don't close on the first call. Now, I actually don't like the way I phrase that. Selling isn't the right word, or how we get people to work with us without closing on the first call. Now, the way that we do that is through what we just talked about, through nurturing and follow-up. But it's consistent. So we have a cadence of how frequent we nurture and follow up with our leads. So after a couple of days after the call, we would check in, but don't say just checking in. We would say something along the lines of, hey, how are you going in the last couple of days with the lead gen process that we just talked about on Thursday? And then they would give us an answer and would stay communicating with them from there. And what our goal is your goal isn't to like actually close them in Messenger or whatever it is. Your goal is to get them back on the phone. Like, you need to get them back on the phone. We almost treat them like it's a new sale. You get them back on the phone, understand their pains, problems, all of that. And that's how you're going to move them through to the next stage of your relationship. So your follow-up process is not about selling, right? It's about getting them back on the phone. And once you get them back on the phone, then we can process payment and stuff like that. So how we do that is I have a list of people that I need to check in with every single day. And there's more people like that because we don't burn the leads at the start. We move 10, 10, 10. And then like out of the 10, 5 are on a call. So I'm following up with 5. You can see how this compounds and steamrolls. Like Abbas said, he's burned through 1,000+ leads in 4 months. Like 1,000 leads, if you've reached out to 1,000 people, your list should be of like 200 to 500 people that you can constantly communicate with and constantly nurture, not 1,000 people that are gone. Because when we want to reach out to people, our goal is to keep them in our process for a long time, rather than just burning them on the first call. That's why there's 3,000 people in this group. There's 4,500 something people on my followers and on Instagram and stuff as well. All of those people I'm still nurturing and following up with, rather than burning them all, because that's just craziness. You don't want to do that. So back to the original point of nurturing and follow up, you can see how it's a compound effect by not burning the leads at the start and creating that sales resistance at the start. Focus on building the relationship, get into a stage where you can nurture and follow up with people. So pointing them in the right direction of content, tagging them in some of your great content, showing them some great content as well. One big thing that when we weren't creating content, this should be helpful for everyone, is we would share something insightful about their industry. So real estate agents, hey, did you see this? When Purple Bricks, the company down in Melbourne, went out of business. Hey, did you guys see this? What are your thoughts on this model? Like, giving them something that's of value to them and relevant to them, knowing that you're thinking about them. So you don't actually even have to create your own content, although creating your own content is fantastic. And we will probably do a future module or something on creating content that is powerful, because content you shouldn't just create content for the sake of creating it and make it like value or whatever. It needs to be transformational. It needs to actually really help people realize something. So, all right, almost out of breath there, but fire away with some questions. I'll stick around here for another like 2-3 minutes. If you guys have any questions, anything that I can answer on nurturing your leads, not burning your leads, sales, following up, anything like that, that would be really great. I can answer that for you guys. And let me just flow through some comments as well. Nurturing builds trust, 100%. You know, as I said, that indoctrination process is really, really important. Now, our goal, right, if someone enters our world, is usually it takes like 2 weeks for them to become a sale, 2 weeks to 30 days. So what you need to do is, if that process like is shortened to like 2-3 days, which happens a lot, like it's happened, I'm on calls today with people that have just been introduced to us, is you need to indoctrinate them further by showing them lots of content, getting them the right like information that they need, helping them with certain aspects, so you can shorten that 2-week period and you can kind of cram it into a couple of days. Really a great way to go, and really building a lot of that trust. And this comes through content. And I don't think people realize how powerful content is. It's the game changer that really has been able to, the biggest reason we've been able to grow our business. All right, so some questions. Nick said, yes, love that. I saw this and you came to mind, thought I'd share it with you if you haven't seen it. This is so good. Really, really great way to do things is, if you don't have your own content, share something that is insightful and helpful. One big one, and this is something that I've shared with my clients before, is that really is helpful, is saying, and we did this to sign several clients, is we said, hey, Mr. Client, I saw that your biggest competitor is doing this. I really think that, you know, you can tweak this and do something a little bit better. What are your thoughts? And then they're like, oh, wow, that's inspirational. Yeah, let's do it. We signed a client. We were waiting with him for 6 months. I sent that message and we signed with him the next day, and he paid in full just from doing that, like getting them that FOMO, if you will. That's what nurturing and follow-up looks like. Not saying just checking in if you made a decision. So please give that a shot. Wing asked, is it a good time to do e-commerce right now? Look, my skill sets in e-commerce is limited. You know, that's why I kind of have some partners in that. I think that it is. It's a fantastic time. I've just seen the amount of information and ads rolling in at the moment is crazy. There's so much great content going out there. So I think that you just need to capitalize on that. Nick says, I've used this, though not used as in like a sales tactic, but rather I've had it happen. Prospects literally come to mind. I share things with them. It's a genuine interest that I think really comes through when you're interested in other people. 100%. The only way that you can actually even come up with these ideas is if you actually, what I talked about in a previous post, is gas. Give a shit about your prospects and actually care about them and want them to succeed. That's the only way that this can work, is you really need to be focused on actually caring about your prospects. All right, cool. So Abba says, automated connection / friend requests and follow-ups, your thoughts. We don't do automated connection and friend requests. It's possible you can do that, but we have a VA, or even Chris, who handles our systems, would do that, because like, this is the old adage, is like, crap comes in, crap comes out. So automated is how they're going to filter through certain things. Like, yes, the person could say they have XYZ in their bio or whatever, but you're going to filter through a lot of crap in that way, and then crap comes out. And the thing with algorithms as well is that the more people on your friends list, or more people who follow you who don't engage with your content, the less likely it's going to be seen. So why keep adding to that big list of people who don't engage with your content, just for vanity's sake, or for anything like that? So I don't love automated friend requests. I think that look, I'm an entrepreneur. We have a business where I can just focus on what I like to focus on, which is like sales, coaching, and this sort of stuff. And I could still do 40 friend requests a day and I could still send 40 messages a day, plus do everything that I can. Anyone that tells you otherwise is just like, you're not working hard enough. You can do that. So I would recommend probably easing off on automation. Follow-ups, don't automate at all. Like, you can't do that. It's just, you can on like a ManyChat sequence or something like that with the intent to actually eventually personally respond. But I would recommend, jumping in there and actually sending the message because you really care about the prospect. So yeah, please give that a shot. All right. So Nick says, so sometimes it's a catch-22 situation. You're going to get any sales when you're thirsting for sales, but when you have none is when you need them most. So do you have any tips for a person in that situation? So yeah, when you're desperate for sales, like, you're probably not going to get sales when you're not. It's like when you're in a relationship and suddenly, I mean, this was in college, you're in a relationship and then girls are attracted to you out of the relationship and you're single and then no one's attracted to you anymore. It's kind of like that sort of situation. Is be in a position where you are like, the first thing is financially, you need to take care of that, getting that off your plate and off your mind. And Nick, I know you are definitely great at that too. So financially taking care of yourself, and like, whether that's Uber, working a job, or whatever it is, taking care of that, because that's the biggest stress, like, and that's the toughest thing. And that's where desperation will come through. The second piece is really understanding exactly who you want to work with and like what that needs to look like. Because if you don't understand that, then you're just going to bring on everyone, and the money piece is going to become a problem because they're going to ask for refunds, they're going to cancel, they're going to stress you out. So those are my advice on that, is like, take care of yourself financially, then understand who you want to work with, and don't be so quick to jump the gun with someone. Look, I'll put it this way. Let's say a bad prospect comes in, but they're paying you $2,000 a month. A bad prospect comes in, $2,000 a month. That's going to cost you $3,000 a month of your time. Simple as that. It's going to cost you $3,000 a month worth of your time, which will cause you to lose clients the next month, the next month, the next month. By us keeping bad clients, it's just carried over so much that we're losing money by keeping them on. Even though they're paying us, we're losing money by keeping them on. So just bear that in mind whenever you're in those situations. All right, I think that is it. If there's any more questions from anyone, please drop them in the comments. I'll be replying to them. I will help anyone out if they need any questions. If you guys have any inquiries about wanting to work with us privately on our 4-step consulting program, then please comment coaching, and I'll be able to reach out to you and we can talk about that a little bit as well. But as I said, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll be replying to them as much as I can. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing a bit more frequent lives because we have a little bit more time now in the calendar for me to do this. So I'm excited and pumped to see you guys more often. But other than that, any questions, drop them and I'll see you guys in the next one.